Hello, everybody. It's James Diboe, Discovered, dedicated to original peoples as always. And we got Patrick Raymond today, Ras Congo, and Edison. How you doing, my brother? Welcome
Very
on.
well. Go ahead.
Welcome everybody to the show. And we've been doing a lot of group
Good, good.
discussions lately. All sorts we've done. Black consciousness, back to the roots. Who is the mystery God? With this. So we're trying to pull work together and learn off each other, and dialogue between us all. And today we're going to be dealing with well-being. And this is not no limited discussion. This is more of a vast discussion on well-being. So we start with Raz, but you're the one who actually told me about
Yeah, give thanks,
try some on
James.
well-being.
Yeah, give thanks, everyone. Yeah, the reason why I chose well-being was because I think if we were to think about how we are, our being, and what wellness represents, you'll find that where Edison, you said, Edison, that you may not be up to date, but you are, brother. You are beyond, above and beyond. So is Patrick. So is James, because I hear it in how we talk, and I think when we talk about African history and our DNA, the ancestors, like we have that relationship with Mother Nature, and Mother Nature, Father God, whatever you want to say to make yourself cool, right, is coming from a higher school. So it's like a thing where you don't go against nature. We watch nature and we work with nature. We don't go against nature because that is destruction, illness, and disease. I think the food that we eat and how we cultivate that food and how we reap it and how we prepare it and cook it so we don't kill all the enzymes and all the properties is going towards a healthier, balanced diet. And even our seeking of education, our hunting for knowledge is a diet. And it's like, you know what I mean? We don't want to overeat. We don't want to undereat. We just want to get that balance so that we're taking the information, the knowledge, and where it's not a burden. It is it is a kind of, well, it's not a kind of, but it's not a burden to have knowledge. But if you get the knowledge without having the balance, it could be a problem. So it's about being balanced to accept that information and means test it by observing nature. So well-being is very important, and I think if we look at it and especially share more information in this podcast, we'll realize how much and how committed we are to well-being on a daily basis. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
just
man.
put that out there to kick that
Nice.
off.
Yeah, man. Powerful, powerful. And anyone, Patrick, anything to
Well,
add on or give your version of what well-being is?
basically, well-being is it's your physical state, your mental state, you know what I mean, and your societal state as well, because it's not always just about you, you know what I mean, and even these podcasts that we do each week on different subjects can actually help people's well-being, not just ours, but the people who are listening, who are hearing, by informing them, educating them, um, giving them stuff to discuss. So it's like having, positive mindset, positive emotions, um, eating the right foods that's good for your body, um, you know, good for your mind as well, because food can affect mood and does affect mood. People turn to comfort foods when they might not be feeling too good and the well-being's down. And even though it's called comfort foods, that same food is not actually doing them any good. You know what I mean? It might be a temporary state of mind eating that, but ultimately it's might be really bad for the health. You know what I mean? But well-being takes in a lot of that things like that, and it's just what you do to create that feeling of comfortable happiness, um, positive emotions. There's so many different things that the individual can do. Um, to create that state of, or to not create the state, but to improve their well-being. But well-being is something that constantly has to be worked on. It's not like, you know, you do certain things and you get to a point of well-being and that's just it. It's something that, your moods, go up and down, up and down. So it's constantly got to be nurtured and maneuvered to keep in as
All
much
right,
of a
well,
positive state of mind as possible.
yeah. All right, well, powerful anyway information. Edison, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. You know
Yeah,
what? Like all things,
yeah,
little thing, you remember something. So I
yeah.
remember doing a whole class on health. It's on one of the courses I do. And the first question we ask is are you physically ill or are you spiritually ill? Because we
Mm,
appreciate that your essence, that which actually directs the electricity around your body. As Patrick was saying, if you're not basically in a positive mindset, you're in a negative mindset. And a negative mindset isn't just the word, it's actually the concept of your electrical distribution in your body. When we're positive, we generate negative ions, which sounds funny, but when we're actually negative, we generate heavy positive ions. These positive ions is what you're going to find if you go into a room and you find people don't even need to tell you they're upset. You can feel it. And what you're feeling is effectively the positive ions they're generating from their thoughts that are spreading beyond their actual mind or their cranium. Is something which is electrical that basically becomes a cloud in the room and it shuts down anyone who's in a good mood because these ions come and make you feel heavy. And then you have to use that extra energy generating negative ions so that you can feel balanced in that space. So the fact is, what we find is the concept of your health is based on your voltage. How much voltage, how much electricity do you have to pass around the blood that carries the current through your arteries into your system to give you the energy to do what you need to do? So health is really based on your capacity to be able to hold your electricity and distribute it to things that you need to do. So health and everything or well-being is really based on, as Patrick said, how positive is your mind towards yourself? One of the
yeah,
biggest things that people don't appreciate is they don't feel safe in their own body. They feel that their body is fragile through thoughts, emotions, people's feelings towards them. And as such, much of their energy goes to watching what people are saying about them. So,
yeah,
well being is really about are you well within your thoughts about yourself? Because if you are, you won't be generating the cortisol that is literally stealing energy from your muscles and eventually making you sick based on you not being able to distribute the energy that you need within your own body to be able to do what you actually need to do. Your
yeah.
organs suffer, everything suffer. So yeah, go ahead. That's it for me.
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, look, great start it is as well. And
Mhm.
picking up what a lot of things is being said as well is when you speak on negative energy and positive energy, you know, this is what we're made up of. You know, this is why I'll always see things as duality. I mean, I know we have the spiritual realm, you know, as we were connected with the physical. And the funny thing is like we base things on the physical world, the three-dimensional space, what we're in. So we can't see what's going on, like the electrical charges, the the vibrations, because we are vibrational beings, and it seems like when we've been taken out of our natural environment, we become something else. Now, the same effects are in the motherland and elsewhere because of colonization, but people I've met, like in the most secluded places, you know, and living that indigenous way, they've got something that's foundational from thousands and thousands of years intact, you know. So if we look at the communities that we're in, for example, if you look at like, first thing is if you got unity, you got strength. So if there's not too much unity, now I'm from like the generation I'm from, but like there's people older than me that remember when the people were more unified. You know, it's like one person's problem becomes another person's problem. Now it's very individualism, everything now. So it isn't like Patrick said, what you eat, everything, even like not even sleeping right, you know, and same time we work, and then some people don't work. But either way, we're locked in a prison, and the only strength is unity. So that's all I'd like to say. Raz, if you want to add on or continue.
I think what what we've touched on has been vitally important so far. So we're talking about like I'm not going to quote you verbatim. I don't want to get in trouble, but what I think I remember, Edison was talking about the electrics, the electromagnetic fields that
Yeah,
exist all over, and we are that as well. How
Mm,
many
thank you.
times have you? How many times have you reached out to a like-minded, like-souled, like-hearted person, and as you touch, you get that little shock? How many times have you had that like that static? You know what I mean? And so therefore we are able to heal ourselves. But in order to heal ourselves, it requires a discipline of meditation and self-awareness. And also, the discipline is big in terms of eating the right foods, knowing well when to fast, not overeating. You know what I mean?
mm.
Um, Meditating, praying, if you want to call it praying, meditating, whatever. Yeah, exercising, making sure that we detoxify ourselves because there's many ways to detox. You can detox by, fasting, which is vitally important to give your organs a rest and recharge them. You can also detox by having a healthy lifestyle, going on runs. Breathing right is very important. The breathing, we take it for granted, but if that breath goes, we've gone, or the life essence has gone. We don't pay enough attention as we should. That's why like you have breathing classes, yoga, stretching. Stretching is very important. I used to think I was made to think that yoga was an Eastern philosophy. And when you go into Egypt and you see the positions of, and yoga or yog is like a priest-like denomination. And when you see certain inscriptions, you can see them clearly assuming yoga positions. And again, it's how you observe nature because most animals, when you see them wake up, the first thing they do is get that breathing and stretching. Yeah, the stretching out. This is something that we as a species may not do or we haven't been informed of as much. It's all about the clothes and the commercialism. It's what you put on the body more than what you put in the body or how you feel in the body. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, man.
Yeah, man, nice man. Patrick, if you want to add on.
Well, an add-on in a sense is it's an ongoing battle, just following on from even what I've said before. It's an ongoing battle where to keep your being well, you know what I mean? Because there's so much out there in society to disrupt that balance of being well and feeling well. You know what I mean? And that can take on so many different things. Just the obvious examples, you know, people might enjoy work and enjoy the job because it brings in an income for them to be able to live and do the thing. But that can bring added stresses with it, which could, knock your well-being off balance.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Having a job and then not being able to afford certain things, you know what I mean? That could put people under stress where you think, well, they're
Yeah.
working for nothing, so the well-being comes under pressure. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's very difficult um, in today's society, especially if you're living in the Western world. It's very difficult to have a constant state of good well-being because it's almost as if a lot of the structures and systems are put in place to dismantle and disrupt your well-being,
Yeah.
and to the point where
True.
you think, well, is this deliberate? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because well-being is good for everybody, and if everyone feels good, that's a positive thing. You know what I mean? Just like what Edison was saying about you go in a room and if people are on a bad vibe or upset, you pick it up. It's equal if you go in a room and people are on a good vibe, you will pick it up without
Yeah.
hearing or anyone speaking to you. You know what I mean? And you might have gone in there on a bit of a low yourself, and that's a bit of a pick me up. It's just like sometimes you can be feeling down, and you might just get that phone call from whoever, someone you might have spoke to them yesterday, the day before, but they phone you up and just what the conversation's about just gives you that lift and boost. You know what I mean? Or you might bump somebody you haven't seen for a while, or a picture you come across, or something. You know what I mean? That just suddenly like sparks you know, a memory or triggers that energy in you. You know what I mean? To just pick you up and give you that boost of energy to say, well, okay, you know what I mean? Something that seems so innocuous and simple just suddenly change your whole frame of mind for that particular hour, afternoon, morning, or the whole day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You know, even looking forward to things, you know what I mean, can like, you know, you're working up to a particular day or date, you could be going on a holiday or some type of celebrations coming up that can impact you. So well-being, it's a fascinating thing, and it's something, as I said, we're always striving to improve and to help, and you know, it's got a lot of ups and downs, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they never stay in a constant state of good well-being to a
Mm.
degree, you know what I mean? So it has its ups and downs, because to feel well and know you feel well, to enjoy it, like you said before about duality and law of opposites, you have to know that low feeling in order to
Yeah.
enjoy the feeling of being up. I
Totally.
ever want to call it that.
Totally. It's like the negative. Anything positive, anything negative. You try and make positive. You know what I mean? Edison. You want to add on or anything?
Because
You.
he's driving,
Yeah,
he might
sorry,
have
can I
gone
add on?
through.
I don't know
Yeah.
the
All right, cool.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Sorry.
what
Yeah. Go on.
I would say is there's this saying that food are thoughts. Yeah. But the thing is, how do you say thoughts are food? And where you may eat only a couple of times a day, you're thinking all day. So as we said, if you have a thought of a negative nature, you could basically be processing that in your mind all day. We say that your brain is the stomach to your experience. So as you're processing your life, you're processing it in your brain. And what
Mm.
your mind can't digest is then passed down into
Reception.
It's because he's driving, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's wait
Anyway.
for him.
Yeah.
Give him a little 30 seconds.
Interesting what you're saying there,
we
though.
have to
Yeah.
we
Yeah. You know what it is?
create
Yeah.
ghosts.
Go on. So
We,
yeah.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear
It's
you
back.
You
now,
Back
cut
on.
but
It's
out.
back
You
on.
cut out a
have
bit
you
because
been
you drive.
talking? You cut out and we couldn't hear you. Is
I
it
tell
just
you what I'll do is carry on, and when I'm in a better signal area, because I'm in a
Yeah.
particularly bad one now, then I'll
Yeah.
come back. But yeah, so I don't want it to be cutting out for the recording.
Thank
So
you.
when I'm in
Yeah,
a
man.
better area, I'll just let you know.
All
So
right.
please
Yes,
carry
man.
on. Thank you. Go
All
on.
Give
right.
thanks. Give
Thanks, brother.
thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, go.
interesting. All these things that everything's like everything's all connected, interconnected in some sort of way. And if we look at like, say, like for example, my grandparents who came from the Caribbean, come from Africa. Some of your grandparents, someone come from Africa or Jamaica, different places. But if you look when they came here and what they established here as black community members, so look at the Africans, they had like, the Igbo with the Nige and certain other things. And then on the Caribbean side, you had the Caribbean. I'm sure you had many other things. And so us as a community, we haven't been able to continue that same legacy on. And of course, there's the reasons why. There's many reasons from being under attack to some things, the reverse effect of things, where people come under drugs, people, alcoholics, and bad habits, basically, people picking up on that. But like, if you look at our ancestors now, I think like they're the people who established the cultures, basically. You know, the cultures were established, the black cultures, by them Caribbean and African cultures. But if you look at today where we are in Liverpool, we don't really have really that anymore. Yes, we do have black people, but it seems like a lot of the essence is dissolving. And yes, you still have certain people, you know, like ourselves. You might like, yeah, we still cook black food, whether Caribbean or African, or you know, the spices and everything we use and that. But I feel like Liverpool's really like declined. So really, say like we want to do something as cultural, you know, because at the end of the day, we got to have cultural awareness, and I feel like a lot of that has dissolved. And when we say dissolve, it doesn't mean it's completely gone. It's always there. But sometimes, you know, that saying of like, oh, I didn't know something was out there, but then you had to go and investigate yourself. You know what I mean? So it's out there, but we've got to look for it. And anything you look for so long, you will find it. You know, so Razva can bring you in.
Yeah, it was something that Patrick said earlier on. Let me get this right. We're talking about, I can't remember the words, but it made me think about how lots of people are marginalized, disenfranchised. And so, therefore, like aspects of well being, right, are kind of influenced by economic conditions, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, if you're looking at like people who are miss kind of like the culture's being really greatly affected, or in some cases destroyed, and you know, impoverished, yeah, disenfranchised people, you're always going to find them that they're more ripe for illnesses because they're not able to get the right food, the right healthcare, the right access to medicines, whether natural or even pharmacological. You know what I mean? And that puts people in a particular vulnerability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if we look at what's happened with like Western colonialism, expansion, and you know, it really has caused a lot of casualties of ill health. One of the greatest, pardon the pun, weapons of ill health is war, the war machine, the commercial war machine that just ravages on and on and on. So that even in our homeland, in the continent of Africa, in the world, most governments are spending more on military than education and health. If you look around, especially in Africa, if you look around, you'll find out like the budget for health and education is supplemented by NGOs and foreign aid, and a lot is goes down on military, right? And that's you know, a reflection of what's going on in the world. If you look at the world, right, most of budgets go towards the militarization, you know, and so therefore it does create a chasm, you know, in terms of like, you know, if you look at people living in this world and how they fit in it, so many people are so stressed and anxious. Well, that leads into, you know, undermining your health, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. In some cases, spiritual health can, you know, almost be like a scaffolding to the other forms of physical or mental health. You know what I mean? But make no mistake about it. You know, I think Patrick said something about these things can't be accidental, and I totally agree. It's a war machine against the people. And if you look at it, even I'm going to be very quick because I know I don't want to go over the time, right? But even like when you look at the nature of the commercials on some channels, it's just when you're watching the TV, you're watching a show, it goes into the commercial break. It's funeral, it's cancer, it's funeral, then cancer. And it's putting those things in people's minds. You know what I mean? And if you're a worrier and you're anxious and you suffer from stress, the thoughts start going, the negative thoughts start undermining your own health. Yeah.
Anxiety causing
Anxiety, bro.
And they're killers. Then you're right, brother. They're killers. Yeah. Interesting, Patrick. Anything to say on this, or you want
Yeah, just 2 points I want to make.
Yeah.
You mentioned about people like not being culturally aware and Nick, you also mentioned about people um, having the culture like taken away, you know what I mean, and not with anything, never mind, things like that impact on well-being as well, obviously, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and likewise, it's not just about talking about the impacts, because I want to get this balance, because it's about
Yes,
giving people also tools of what can improve well-being,
of
you know what I mean,
course.
from
Yeah,
down
yeah.
to
That's
getting
right.
that balanced diet, exercise, touching on something what Edison said before about food for thought, because I know when I'm hungry, I can't think properly.
Yeah.
I get very scatty, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And and even down to, even though sometimes it's not even down to hunger, just down to keep hydrated, drink plenty of
Yeah.
water. It
That's it.
lubricates the mind, you know what I mean? It lubricates the soul, the spirit, whatever, however you want to look at it. It does good, you know what I mean? It's almost like a fuel to the body, fuel to the mind, fuel to the, that engine. So, um, and then also, um, I want to pick up on what Nick was just saying about adverts, because it was funny. I was just talking about this yesterday with my brother, Errol, who he may well join in, but I was talking about, a lot of adverts now on TV. Like when we were younger, there was a lot of adverts which were very powerful. Like, 'cause even down to as a child, I- you know, yeah, you might have had think, well, I'm going to grow up and drive a car one day. But when you're 4 or 5, it's a long way off. But simple things like when I'm driving a car, I remember an advert where you always used to say, look once, look twice, think bike. And I still do that. That's drilled into me because of that advert. You know what I mean? And that's part of that is a form of well-being, because it's looking out for me. Because if I was
Yeah,
to lick down somebody on a bike because I didn't look properly, obviously they're the ones who are injured, but then I've got to live with that thought that I've knocked someone down, and that's going to impact my well-being, my psychological, my mental, my spiritual well-being, that I've injured somebody
yes,
simply
sir.
because I could have just looked once more when I didn't, you know what I mean, because it's a thin object. And these type of adverts, like just to say what Nick was saying about adverts being so negative, there was lots of positive adverts.
Yes.
You remember Charlie the cat, they'd be like, "Ah, ah, ah,
Yeah,
ah."
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Charlie said, never play with matches and never go off with strangers who've got put, and all these little things. They
Yes.
actually kept us safe as kids, because we were
Definitely.
constantly. There's not one advert that I've seen in years which warns any youngster of dangers that are out there in the
That's
world.
right.
And we were
That's
always
right.
seeing them, from crossing the road, from going with strangers, from playing with matches, from doing dangerous things,
Yeah, yeah.
or from not swimming in places where you shouldn't swim, like rivers and this, and all these things every day on the TV. We're seeing youngsters being injured in these ways where we were constantly warned. Not saying our age group grew up perfect, but these adverts looked out for our well-being, our physical well-being, you know what I mean, and also help, even if not intentionally,
Alright, bros.
it helped our mental
Yeah.
well-being. And these adverts don't exist anymore. They're all negative, and a lot of adverts actually could lead children into doing dangerous or stupid things rather than safety. You know what I mean? Because
Welcome,
there was a lot,
Curtis.
even down to, remember
Right.
Tufty, the rabbit, and he used to run out for the ice cream van and get licked down. All them different adverts as youths. You know what I mean? They taught you
That's true.
things. The Green Cross Code, man, all these things. There was lots of different ones. Don't swim, do this, learn how to swim, even, you know what I mean? It was telling you how it's important, because, you know, and the one with the cat, called Charlie, and he was talking a mad accent after it was
Charlie says, meow, meow, meow,
done.
meow, meow.
And
Remember
then,
he made it the acid house tune out of it, didn't he?
yeah, yeah.
Remember?
So all these things
Upliftment, he's
went
more talking.
for
He's,
well-being,
yeah,
you know
just,
what I mean?
yeah,
It
the
helped the
well-being. Yeah,
well-being,
yeah.
helped other people. And, as I said, that prime example of when I'm driving, I do actually look once, I generally do. And that's subconsciously built into me
Yeah.
from that advert years before I even really knew I was ever going to drive, you know what I mean? But it was just in there. So it's a good thing, you know what I mean, to
Yeah.
have these adverts as well. And they should bring some of them back, or,
Some
up-to-date
more,
versions to
more,
counter them negative adverts of
more
Elixir,
positivity.
funeral
Yeah.
cancer, this, that. It's just putting, it's just upsetting certain people. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah, yeah.
just to finish off, remember when I've seen it on many comedy shows, but it's true. at the end of the night when, when the days when telly used to sign up at 11:30, 12 o'clock, and they'd say things like, and don't forget to lock all your doors and windows. And although that's a bit of a warning, that must have been very uncomfortable and terrifying for some people who were lonely or on their own, because it's making them now think of, wow, someone could be in my house or coming in my house. And, it's
Yeah,
very subtle, but it's
we're going to
there.
continue anyway. But yeah, very interesting. A lot of punch you made there. Welcome, Curtis. Anyway,
Yes,
um,
man.
as we've just been going round with the well-being talk, and I might as well come to you while you're here.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
well, let me add a question also towards what you're saying as well. Could you play the djembas a lot?
Mm.
Um, like things that are going to be better for our well-being. For example, what you get out of it the most, would you say, and also what do the people get out of it the most as well?
Mhm. Well, the first instrument I ever played was guitar. Remember I told you about the teacher who taught us all guitar and that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Bezacume or something was it? Oh
No,
no, maybe that was
no, it was Mr. Higgins.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, when you're holding the guitar, the resonance of it, like you get a hug, you get feedback, and it's going straight into your heart. Because you're holding it, you're sort of hugging
I
it.
did play guitar, but I was young, 9, 10.
Yeah.
But
What
anyway,
happened,
carry on. Yeah.
man? What happened? You could be the next
Well,
Jimi Hendrix, man. James Hendrix.
you know what? You've got to be pushed to kind of do something when you're young. Even though it's your
Mm.
passion, sometimes you just need that little push. Do
Mm.
you know what I mean? But it was my own. I just, I think it was down to the person who was teaching me. I used to go Belvedere Road.
Oh, yeah.
There was a place there and paid them so much an hour. Hippie type of dude. You know what I mean? Taking in the money every week. So yeah, I liked it, but I didn't like how he was teaching. And
Mm.
even funny enough, when you mentioned guitar, I'm being shown how to read music.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I remember last time someone we were talking about people who just play the guitar just off the top. They don't need to read music.
Mm.
I remember we were speaking on that last time.
Well, where Joanne Cressina,
Um,
the chants.
the chance.
Yeah, the chants. They inspired the Beatles a lot, the
Okay,
chants.
okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they were big, man. But what did he say to me one time? Because someone was going, we were playing with a band. I was rapping. Me and somebody else was rapping. It was ages ago, and so someone said to him, "Well, what key is it in?" He went, "Look, I don't need to know what key it's in. I'm a feel man. I'm a
Mm.
feel man." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
that's a
when you've
good
got it, you
point.
just got it. Do you know what I mean? You find even like no muddy waters.
Um,
The old rickety old blues that you can just about hear because it was like in those old microphones and that back and these are songs from 120 years ago and stuff like that.
mm,
And what they do the way he couldn't afford a guitar, so they would get like the broomstick and then put like a fish wire on it, fishing
what?
cord. And
Yeah.
that's how and that's how we learned to play guitar, just because you had to slide it up and down to get the different keys and that. One string. Mm.
Edison. Yeah, brother.
Yes.
You in a good
Yes.
spot?
It's better. It's much better. I should be home in about 10 minutes' time. But
Mm.
yeah,
Okay.
what was you speaking of, my friend? I've been
It,
listening, but the signal is going in and out.
it
Um,
basically just like well-being in every way. Yeah, Curtis was speaking about playing the guitar before, and I was asking about the
yeah,
djembas.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
the djembe definitely, that fills the whole space,
and
and
even the vibrations, how it can make people feel better.
oh,
The
yeah.
definitely,
energy
yeah,
from it and them
yeah.
things as well.
Mm.
Edison, yeah, feel free to add on.
Well, in regards to music, I think we were sort of speaking about that last time, that music isn't just
Mm,
sound, it's an actual computer code that instructs your body what to do when it hears it. So it's
yeah,
like a message that we can't hear the words, but your body recognizes the information. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, what I was saying before was the concept of, and I think everyone else has said it, about how our thoughts and how our thoughts are programmed to basically put us in a state of well-being. Based on our conditioning determines how our condition is. And when you're in a paradigm where essentially society, through media, through religion, through education, through politics are basically conveying music in words.
Mm.
In the
Okay.
way in which they speak to you, they put you in a meditation where
Yeah.
now you're processing what they've said to you and your body is also consuming it too. So there's certain things through laws what we were given as a child. You don't appreciate that whenever you're speaking out from your mind, the sound waves that you're generating out, you're also generating into your body, into your organs. Your organs have basically been conditioned by the tone of your voice or how you're feeling in that moment. So imagine if I programmed you to basically hate a group of people. Yeah. Every time you said what you said with hate, that frequency is going down into your body. So when someone mentions that word of those group of people, before you've said anything, your body holds the vibration of that word and it's going to impact you adversely.
Mm. Put
I
that
So,
in a
was,
low
so
vibrational state.
yeah, well, vibrational state, your
Mm.
actual words. If I ask you to say something which you don't believe, you struggle because your body won't allow you to say it. Because you're just saying that thing, you're going to feel a sense of anxiety. You're going to feel a pain in your stomach.
like a
Yeah.
polygraph.
Yeah, well, a polygraph, they're always testing, not
Mm.
what you're, they're testing your electrical fluctuations
Mm.
based on you being honest with yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, they
That's
could.
why if you're a good liar, you could get away with a polygraph.
Mm.
Or imagine if someone is telling the truth, one of the old tricks is ask them to hold their hand out straight. And when you say what you say, you knock their hand. And usually, if they're telling the truth, their hand is stiff. But if they're lying, they've got no power in their hand, which usually in their arm, which usually indicates they've got no power in their words.
The
So,
ancestors
what
definitely understood all these sciences and everything. I mean, look in Kemet when they put the feather, weigh it up and all that one. So
Mad.
interesting, this is like sacred science and what it is really, isn't it?
Yeah.
it goes into the whole concept of of when
Mm.
people take energetic baths or spiritual baths as they're concerned,
Yeah.
where effectively your well-being, unfortunately, is impacted by uh, your thoughts and feelings, which are trapped inside your skin. Yeah, as your thoughts have to broadcast. So when you're saying something, you're broadcasting words or an energy form for someone to be able to reconstruct it into a sound. But also your feelings, when I was talking about positive and negative ions, they also extend beyond your skin as well. So
Yeah.
what happens is in your skin is trapped all of your thoughts and feelings. It's not only in your auric field, it's also in your skin. So what happens is over a time, your actual skin is literally holding frequencies which are holding you back,
Yeah.
which are generating signals. You know, when you spoke of prayers, every
Yeah.
thought you have is a prayer, which becomes a wish, which becomes a magnetic potential.
Yeah.
I now this thought that you had is literally you're asking for it to draw that event towards you. So this is good when you're praying, but this happens when you're not praying. Because every thought is a prayer, not just when you get on your knees and call something. When you
Yeah.
say, oh, I wish I get to work early. I wish to do this. I wish to eat that. I wish she's cooking that. But also when you say, I wish this person doesn't come around. I'm scared of this person. I'm scared of this thought. I'm scared of this situation. All of these carry a magnetic potential as well. which bring events towards your body.
Mm.
We suffer from our judgments, which then become emotions, which then basically impact our actual electrical field. Because certain emotions from certain ideas have a dampening effect. If someone can
Interesting.
tell you something, and before you know, you can't even stand, can't stand. Person
Mm.
didn't knock you down. You
Yeah.
interpreting the words, the emotion that was created a paradigm where your body, in processing those words, no longer had the power to keep you standing.
Yeah. Powerful, brother. You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like when there's different, like I say, there's many different angles we can come at the well-being as well, and
Mm.
it's like I say, to understand, you got to understand the spiritual and the physical, and
Uh-huh.
the positive and the negative energy. And like another thing to add on as well, to being barefoot, make sure you're barefoot when there's a time being barefoot, basically walking on
Mm.
soil. Our connection to the earth, our
Yeah, to the earth
connection.
yourself.
So that's what's really about, just having that connection. Like you were saying before, you could be talking. You see, sometimes people could be talking to a tree, you know,
Uh-huh.
and then at the end of the day, that's a life force that you're talking to, and asking, giving thanks, So everything, it's all everything interconnected, everything, and it all plays its part. Raz,
Yeah, just what like the brother was talking about Edison, we're talking about emotions, and if you look at that word emotion,
yeah,
it's almost like electric motion,
Mm.
right? Um, and I think we spoke about sound, the drum or other forms of sound music. So it can be used as a healing process, and it can be used as a destructive process as well, if it's in the wrong hands and weaponized. You know what I
yeah,
mean? When you go into hospital and you have an MRI scan and ultrasound, it's all the same thing, man. You know what I mean? It's how it's using sound to detect things or to heal. And the ancient traditions, you know what I mean, around the world, not just in Africa, but around the world,
mm,
were aware of this. You know what I mean? And they were aware of the fact that we are part of the whole. We're not separated. And like when you look at wellness, like, they say in terms of like the physical body, 70% water, and water is when you go to the well, you draw out the water. You know what I mean? People feel things in the waters. You know what I mean? Emotions run deep like waters and rivers. You know what I mean? So we're all part of the same cosmos, and it's about harnessing. It's about understanding that, and it's about how to harness that because it's there for us all. You know what I mean? And we
Yeah.
can't tap into it, especially if we see things as like computer codes and simulations. And you know what I mean? It's all the power of the mind. The power of the mind can do great things. We do great things anyway. So we're not talking about miracles in the sense. It's a miracle. We deal with miracles, we take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? Like when we go to bed and we rest, we have to give thanks that we have a good sleep and we rise in the morning. If
Mm.
it's not the will to rise, it's not the will. But when we wake and we open the eyes, we give thanks because we don't want to take anything for granted. We have to give thanks for being here and not being in a sick bed, not lying down, being able to move, like we were talking about. Medicine, natural medicine, herbs, walking on you know what I mean? Like when you walk on the grass, like you're saying, you're getting all the electrons from the soil, and that just invigorates you and it makes you more in tune because of the practices that we deal with or that are commercially sold to us. It does impact on us. You know what I mean? Maybe not necessarily for the best, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, man.
powerful. Yeah, well, giving thanks, like you said, just to wake up, and that's the start of your day.
You know?
And could be a start of like a new life, just waking up.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, interesting. Patrick, anything to add on with that?
Um, it's as I add on, it's just a
Oh,
matter of, yeah,
bring whatever you want to
okay,
bring. Yeah, blatant.
you know, well-being is something which is really, really, when I say serious, I mean serious in the sense of it's kind of overlooked and taken for granted, but more and more you notice, especially in workplaces, public, even private bodies, they're starting to look at the seriousness of and realize the impact of well-being on productivity. If their workforce is not of a good state of well-being, a good emotional, positive emotion, it can impact on their productivity. You know what I mean? And even if you're just looking at it from a general point of view, or if you're looking at it from not me or us personally, but the employers looking at it from a capitalist point of view, where they want to capitalize on whatever it is they're doing, they're starting to understand more and more that the well-being of their workforce is crucial to improving productivity. So
Yeah.
that, in a lot of sense, in a lot of ways, more, in fact, in most ways, is a good thing. You know what I mean? That people will start to recognize it, even if you might think, well, that's only going to do an increase productivity and increase whatever. That might be the case. But from the individual's point of view, that employee, if their well-being's good and they're in a good place, in a good state of mind, good sport, positive emotions, getting good vibes and good this, that can only be beneficial for them because obviously, having a, when I say unsound mind, I don't mean like mentally unstable, but having, that imbalance in well-being can lead to illness, you know what I mean? And does lead to illness. And that's a massive thing. And if someone's ill, even if it's just a simple little cough or sniffle or something's more serious, that obviously impacts your well-being and makes you feel down. You can't, who's happy, who's sitting at home when they're not well. I mean, so that conflict is constantly ongoing. You know what I mean? Because even if it's just, um, just looking at something like just what the next week they're going to not celebrate, but going to be remembering this beginning of lockdown during COVID. Like a lot of people were confined to the houses when they might have not even had any symptoms, but they tested positive for whatever it is they say they tested positive for, and that impacted their psychological well-being by being stuck at home. I mean, during COVID lockdown, like I'm someone, and I can imagine a few of us here are the same way. We can feel that comfort and ease on our own in our own presence. You know what I mean? And like lockdown for me, although a lot of people it did impact on, and I'm not, belittling them in any way or playing it down because it's a serious thing. But a lot of people it impacted on their mental well-being, like being isolated for a lot of the time. Where for me, it actually I found it very useful because it increased my creativity as a creative person, a writer. Increased my creativity, and I got a lot of stuff done, even if it wasn't physically written. It was the thought process that would involve building up to that. So it actually helped my well-being in some ways, and I might be in a minority because it impacted a lot of people, especially younger people. If you were 5, 6 years old and you're being told you can't go near your friend, you know what I mean, or you can't do this or you can't do that. I couldn't even begin to imagine what that must have felt like to youngsters who most adults couldn't understand it properly. This lockdown and what these distances and social distances and all this. So when you were 4, 5, 6 and you're used to constantly having that close physical contact by the way you play, the way you interact, little kids, little girls skipping around the playground, always holding hands and hugging each other and playing different games where there's constant physical contact from tick to this, and then being told they can't do that, and even maybe chastised when they did do that. That had serious impact on their well-being, which will carry on into the future. So well-being being taken seriously, not just in the adult workplace, it needs to be taken seriously across the board, especially after that seriously
that was deadly.
doomsday type of times, you know what I mean, where we were locked down, and so well-being is very important, and it is good. Just to finish off my point, it is good that a lot of workplaces are more mindful of that, because they call it well-being or mindfulness, and all different types of things. But
Yeah.
it's good that
Well, I
people are starting to
suppose,
look at it more and the importance
yeah,
of it.
I suppose where you work as well, like you said before, some people might, you might like your job, you might not like your job, many things. But at the same time, appreciation is a very important thing. I just want to add, I bring it
Give
in now,
thanks in it.
Curtis.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because if a youth doesn't have values installed into them, for example, if you look at some of the people these days, like say, they might not even be earning too much money, but then they have to get one child a present for £800, or like you can't just rather than back in the days where you give what you can, and that was
Mm.
even appreciated just to give, just to, for to giving. I think nowadays youths want more than, but it's all this commercialized stuff though. It's you look and think where they get it from. Obviously, yeah, they go to school and you might see some other kids with the latest trends or trainees, tracksuits or whatever coats. So there's all these coats out now. Like I don't know if they're called the gooses, they're called or something. About £800 now. Certain kids asking for them, and then
Oh,
a mobile.
Canada Goose.
Is that what they call? See, I
It's
don't know all this.
ridiculous.
That's what I
Yes.
mean. I'm just hearing things, so and it costs this amount. And even like a phone, some of these like latest phones, brand new, you know. And yeah, just add on if you can, Curtis. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make a point of appreciating and installing values.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When it comes to kids, because I do supply teaching.
Yeah,
Now, I've been working in schools, Um, 32 years now I've been working in schools. And
long time.
and never have I seen like in high schools, right? I'd never seen like the way these kids go on in high school now. Now everyone messes about in high school, but I swear they got fed after midnight, these ones, man, you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
running around like gremlins, not knowing what to do with themselves. They're very inappropriately touching each other like all the time. The lads, they're playing around like footy players. You might smack them on the ass when you're walking on. But
Fucking hell.
like these kids in the school, man, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literally like simulating sex. Like they'll put the chair right up behind the chair of the mate in front and start doing all rubbing each other on the nipples and all kinds. But I was talking to another teacher about it who I've known for years. She used to work in a secondary school, and she really hit it on the head there. And especially when you're talking about COVID before, like Patrick was as well. And it's like because that generation they didn't get to muck about and everything and get their hands dirty and bang their heads on the bloody slide or whatever. You didn't get to do that rough and tumble what you do when you're a kid and you just like have a little, get someone in a headlock or something. So now they're overcompensating for it. They cannot leave each other alone. I'd say like 75, 80% of them, they can't be independent. They can't be out in their own space or anything like that. But also what I wanted to say was when we were talking, especially from a bit of what Raz said and a bit of what Edison said, the Chinese arch by the black.
Arch. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So if you notice, right, Nelson Street, you could look right straight down it, straight like that to the river, right? If you ever noticed, right, say if you walk through that arch and you just keep going straight, you'll walk into the restaurants. So what they did was they asked because it's feng shui. Some people call it feng shui. Yeah, feng shui. Like so, if you've got a toilet that's facing or a bathroom that's facing your front door, even if it's not the door's not open or anything, it's draining all the good energy out of your household. That's their philosophy on it. Do you
Mm.
mean? So if you think about that, like plumbing, basically, like things going down the drain, flushing the chain. Well, it's taking all the good energy out of the city into the sea, and it's got getting spread out too thin. Do you mean? So that's why they did it, so to block the good energy in the city. They literally they have like this like guy and he's got like all these crystals and stuff and like a compass and they do it from that. So that was interesting because that's a really real belief. That's a really strong belief that a lot of Chinese people have got. And it works in your household and it's about stripping everything down and getting back to the basics kind of thing and keeping the energy flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Energy's deep though,
Mm.
Edison. Yeah, Bob, brother. I think your mic's off.
You're on mute. You're on mute if you're there, Edison.
I said I'm back home,
Oh, you're
so I'm
back.
just getting ready. I was just about to get ready to jump on properly. But yes, go ahead. What was you saying? So I
Um,
heard what I once. I heard yes.
Kids were
I heard
speaking on basically energy and like you speak about the Chinese way, yeah, the
Yeah,
how
feng
the
shui.
feng
yes,
shui.
Yeah.
Speaking about
100%.
what
The
were you saying? That the front door is a toilet's got is facing it, is it?
Yeah, if you got a bathroom or a toilet that's facing your front door, even if
Yeah.
it's not open, it's draining all the positive energy out of your environment, and which is
Yeah.
and your personal environment, your body. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
that's it. So that's why they had to offset the arch so that whatever goodness goes in there isn't going to get drained away. So
Mm.
they've blocked it with the houses by offsetting it slightly like that. So it's mad, isn't it, how much detail they put into it.
Yeah,
No,
Edison.
yeah, I said because they have to be fair, because this is where people argue. Do you keep your toilet seat up or do you keep your toilet seat down?
Mm,
Only so
mm,
that if energy is going out of it, they keep fish tanks, because fish tanks basically have running water,
mm,
which creates negative ions, which effectively enables you to lower the actual positive ions from people's thoughts and people's feelings.
Mm.
But more important than anything is the feng shui in your body
mm,
and how your own thoughts circulate the energy around your body.
mm,
And how literally it's a thing where if you actually generate a thought to do something and you don't complete it, that thought, once it's been born, stays alive in your body. And what it will do is it's just waiting for an opportunity to be expressed. So it can actually live within your body and then start to feed off the different electrons from different organs, creating illness. So the suppression of an idea, a thought, or a thing can become an illness down the road. We unfortunately don't appreciate how we're actually supposed to be keeping things light, keeping things moving, so that the energy and circulation of because the blood in our body is what carries the electricity around our body. And our
Yeah.
arteries are literally the circuits which the electricity is coming through. So your resistance or your resistor or your resentment
Mm.
literally shrinks your arteries. So therefore, the more you resent something, the more your arteries shrink, the less blood that goes through there, the less energy you have for that thing.
Yeah.
So our thoughts,
Interesting.
unfortunately, are who we are. When I
Mm.
say our thoughts are food, that's what we're consuming. Don't worry about if you've eaten 3 meals a day. Wonder if you've been having a negative thought 20 hours a day, because your body trying to deal with that negative thought, all the different chemicals, all the different emotions that it's had to flood your body with, that's what's wiped you out.
Mm.
That's why if you have a serious situation to deal with, you can't focus on anything else. You don't
mm,
Mm.
even want to eat. You can't sleep because you're constantly replaying ways in which you can deal with that situation. So
Yeah. The
as
Interesting, man.
as Patrick was talking earlier, when he was talking about commercials and bars, literally, if someone, the old saying, if I control um, if I control how the story is told, I can control how you feel about it.
yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
Education has done that. That's told you they robbed your history in the classroom. And commercials are just repetitively programming you to basically, when you're in a certain situation and you're drawing your memories to think of what you're going to do next, that commercial's going to come up and that
Mhm.
commercial's going to choose what it is that you go and do next. So we're
Mhm.
in a paradigm where our body is trying to maintain and clear out any negative thoughts, negative feelings. That's why thoughts keep reoccurring, because your body knows that these thoughts are impacting the circulation of the energy in your body.
This
And
is
you need,
why this is why I stick to watching YouTube, you see, because I don't watch TV because It's at least with YouTube, you're choosing what's going on. But at the same time, the adverts that keep coming on YouTube is unbelievable. Before they were like 5 seconds. Now you got these 1, 2 minute adverts now. You know, it's like you can't escape them, you know.
That's how YouTube makes money, though.
Yeah. I
If
don't
you
have any
pay, yeah, you
adverts.
can.
I don't want no adverts, but there's the odd advert that just came on by themselves. So it shows you that we don't control the app. They can do what they want. Anyway, I'm going to come to you now, Raz.
Mhm.
Yes, interested if you
Respect.
add on, Raz.
Yeah, respect. So, for the past 34 years, I've been working in mental health, right?
Yeah.
I've been doing like dual diagnosis work, which is like alcohol, substance, mental health, right? But for
Mhm.
me, it's always been an issue where you can't just deal with the mental health. You got to deal with the health of the holistic health because you can't just separate one thing because everything is connected. Like we said earlier,
Mm.
societal issues are there as well. Economic issues are there. There's so many levels that we're going to be impacted on. You know what I mean? So I'm working in mental health, and I've always dealt with it to be jolly because, like, we're talking about the positive energy, and I've always dealt with my people in a positive manner. You know, recognizing people. Good afternoon, good morning,
Yeah.
like being able to engage with people. So when I visit, I've worked in different teams as well. So for example, now I work in an early intervention service, which is like working with people when they have the first episode of so-called psychosis, right? And I work sometimes at the weekend for the crisis team when people are going through things. I have good outcomes in my work, right? I'm not doing any form of magic or anything. It's just treating people in a humane way. I
Yeah.
treat people in a humane way. I afford them the respect. Yeah.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
show them I have compassion, empathy, right? And I deal with it on an equality level. So I will go and speak to someone, try and find what makes them flow if they have any interest, right? Build up a reasoning, a conversation. So by the time I need to ask about medical compliance, anxiety, auditory hallucinations, whatever I have to ask, they're going to give it to me because I'm not going in there like the Gestapo and asking straight away. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might even ask, like, are you into poetry? Do you like sports? So we get people on board, you know? And then in my other role, which is more permanent, right? Like 5 days a week, I can't just be asking people about whether they're taking medication. I need to change things in their life in the sense of like, what are you looking? Are you looking to work? Are you off sick? Do you want to claim for PIP? Are you looking for universal credit? Do you want enhanced universal credit? What's your housing like? Have you got a fridge in your house? Yeah, there's no point me just looking on a medication model when there's so much of that individual that I need to deal with, I need to be aware of. So as I work, I have good success. They're not paying me what they're not paying me what my value is, but my reward and my well-being is improved by helping people.
Mm.
And I give thanks that I've been able to get myself in an industry because it is an industry. It's big business,
Yeah.
right? There's like when you look at it, it's the pharmaceutical society that's running everything. I'm operating outside of that on the periphery. But you know,
Yeah.
it's $1 trillion business model to get people on medications. Now, when it comes to black people, if black people, especially black men, young black men, as soon as they quickly will say you're paranoid schizophrenic or you're schizophrenic or
Or
schizoaffective,
you're black.
and they will give you the highest form of dosage of medication and make you
Mm.
sedative and everything, bro. You know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm there on the inside doing what I can do, but it's beyond just a medical model. And like we broke down in an earlier podcast, this whole pharmica, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Famika,
yeah,
Pharmacia, and Famika.
yeah,
It's Greek for
mm,
being drugged and all like nefarious magic,
mm,
occultism, using these things in a negative way to hold people and disturb the quality of life
mm,
and make money off people's misfortune.
yeah,
So I give thanks that I've been able to, maneuver and not compromise myself within a hornet's nest, really. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And trying to be an advocate for people, not just black people, but for people, and being
yeah, yeah.
aware of cultural differences and
Mm.
working with that. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
amazing, bro. That's brilliant. That
Interesting. Yeah, it
just
was.
even to humanize people by like just the everyday banter and chit chat and
You
just
know,
making, just get being there, just being there, man, and
for
listening,
real, bro.
listening was one of the best skills you can have as far as I'm is listening to people, man, and you learn so much.
So
But you know
much,
what
man.
it is
So
as
much.
well. I think like nature plays this mad part because say loads of people. I don't know about how you work in mental health, Raz. I mean,
Mhm.
say like, do you ever take out like a bunch, or not just yourself? Do people ever take them somewhere? Like you could take them to Wales, to be
Yeah,
around.
man. Taking people overseas, bro. I've taken
Yeah,
Mm.
people.
yeah,
I've taken.
a different
I've taken people
environments.
to Jamaica, bro.
Yeah,
I've taken people to like Portugal, Italy, and like on a local level, I've got free gym membership for people.
Mm.
I run sports groups. I do
yeah,
creative writing and poetry. We do games groups, and we take things to get it out of a hospital setting and take it in the community and the wider. So we even go to like the British Museum and
yeah.
other
That's what
things.
see.
We're just
Everything's
because we're
good.
in London, there's
Yeah.
so much going on. We can access these things. You know what I mean?
So we
Yeah,
are. So basically, you're a self healer. Basically, you know what I'm saying? Because and the pharmaceutical ain't gonna do this. So it's down to yourself and like you've got a lot of experience, many years in this field and that. Patrick, want to
yeah,
add on or anything to bring?
Yeah, no, well, definitely to add on to that because I've worked in mental health for a couple of years myself in the past, with directly in mental health, and
Yeah,
it was, it was a part-time thing, as in hours wise, but it was activity based. So it was a lot like what Nick's is saying, some of the stuff he does, where you're taking people out of that, what I say, opposite. And I mean, like the building where people usually congregate and
yeah,
get counselling and get this and that, taking them out of that and bringing them into the built-up environment, taking them to places like museums, going and doing activities. It was all activity based. You know,
mm,
I during the week, the other staff who work 5 days a week would deal with stuff where they were counselling and maybe looking at things like PIP and this and that and benefits and whatnot, and taking them to see the doctor about changing the medication, upping the medication, stopping the medication, in particular, all these different things. But from my point of view, it was activity based. So I've used some of the creative skills that I've got, and I would introduce people to maybe writing groups, poetry groups, this, that. And I said we go out and do various activities from bowling to just simply a walk in the park to theatre to museums, all these different things, just taking people out of their environment. And
yeah,
and
man.
again, having that conversation and listening, you know what I mean, at times. And a lot of the work that I do now and I've done in the past with regards to family support worker, where I wasn't dealing with people who were, when I say under the mental health umbrella, like the organisation, like CAMS and these different type of things,
Mm.
children and adults mental health services.
Yeah,
But you were dealing with young people who may be under them and do go to these services, you know what I mean? But you approach it from a different level, you know what I mean? Where you were having conversations with them. These were kids who had been kicked out of school. Some of them were on the verge of being almost kicked out of school, and you were trying to get that balance,
yeah,
either get them back into school or prevent them from being kicked out of school, you know what I mean? And you was working with them, the family support worker and the parents. And you weren't telling parents how to parent. You were just telling parents, not telling, you were getting parents to explore what they're doing as a parent and getting them to come up with possible ideas how they could maybe do things different, which help their well-being, help the child's well-being, help the family well-being, you know what I mean? And just picking up again what Nick said about how he approaches people and what he says and the way he is. And it's just not, oh, you taking your medication, you're doing this, he'd come in and go, well, what do you like, what do you this? And it's a lot about trust. Once you
Yeah,
earn someone's trust, then they're
that's
more
right.
likely to open up with you. And it's the same in the work I'm doing at the moment in the leave-in care system, where
Yeah, man.
it's not just about finding kids employment, education, training, and getting them a home. These have come from broken homes, broken families where they might have been around, since the age of 11 to 17, 18. They could have been around 10, 15 different foster families. So their trust of adults is almost non-existent in some cases. It's very minimal because they're just being passed from pillar to post, and sometimes feel, well, I can't trust anyone because as soon as I build up trust, they're going to move me on to somebody else. They're going to move me on to this person, move me on to that person. And
Yeah,
that's, how they are. So you've got to build up trust in different ways, and you can't approach it the same way because everyone's individual to a degree. Some things work with one person, other things don't. You know what I mean? So, and if you come at them with that good vibe, just like what Edison mentioned about going in a room and picking up on a bad vibe, and I said about you can go in a room, pick up on a good vibe, that young person, adult or whoever, will pick up on a good vibe. And not to relate people to animals, but just like an animal can pick up on a good vibe. Yeah, sometimes a dog or a cat will like treat somebody shifty because they pick up on a bad vibe from
yeah,
them, you
yeah.
know what I mean?
That
And
energy.
others might just run to you and, rub on your leg and whatever, you know what I mean? A cat or another, some cats will like back off from people. And that person might not necessarily be a bad person. They might just be going through something and there's a vibe emanating from them, and these animals pick up on it. But people, everyone picks up on vibes, you know what I mean? People pick up on vibes the same way. It might not be as obvious, but they do, you know what I mean? And they
Yeah,
might not let on to you because through caution,
yeah.
through wanting to build up trust, through them
Could be,
analysing you
could
as
even be
much as
body
you're
language,
supposed to
anything, can it?
analyse them,
You know what I
you know what I
mean?
mean? They're waiting to see, well, can I talk to him like this, or can I, or is he gonna, or she gonna be just like the last
Yeah.
person who wants to just tell me what to do? Because with a lot of the young people I work with, once they've turned 18, we take over from the social worker in 90 odd percent of the cases. Some stay with adult social care, but you still work with them. One of the first things I say to them is, I'm here to support and help you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You're an adult. I'm here to offer you advice, and it's for you to then make choices. Not necessarily you can totally ignore the advice, but to offer you advice and you can and so you can make informed choices, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
based off that.
it's
I'm not an expert on
oh,
everything,
of
but I'm
course,
here
of
to
course.
help,
Yeah.
guide and
All right.
support and
Yeah.
where I can and all of it to make you
Well, we're going to
independent.
continue anyway.
Yeah. So the quicker you can
Yeah.
do things for yourself, the quicker it is. Because even if you can tell someone's upset with your presence, thinking, I've got to see this person again or whatever, I say to them, well, the best thing for you is when you gain that independence and the skills that hopefully you need, that you might be lacking in some areas, not all, then that's when you can
Yeah.
break
All
free of
right.
that and you don't need these
Well, let's,
officials
we're going to
around you
let,
all the time.
nice one. No, that was a very informative. That I'm just trying to keep it going, but hold them forth at the same time. Brilliant information. Curtis, add on to this or anything?
Yeah, man, I just something just popped into me head when Patrick was speaking then. Because that's wicked what you were talking about there, Patrick, man. You always go into like them, you're the people person, innit? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I was working in some school, 2000, about the year 2000 or something like that, Abbottsley, special needs school in some big, like a big, massive building, like in a park sort of thing. And we took them out on a history trail because that's what we used to do. We take them out on a history trail around Liverpool so that no matter what your sort of, your genetic background is or whatever, or your culture, to teach the kids that it took like people from all over the world to build this city. You know what I mean? And then so we go back to the school, and then one day we had like warm-up games, and this lad Oliver, like he was a legend. You would never know that he was on the autistic spectrum. Do you know what I mean? You just wouldn't know. But when he laughed, he'd have like little movements he'd do and stuff like that. He's a boss kid. And when we went to school one day, I said, "Okay, everyone get in a circle." Now the easiest way to get in a circle is you all hold hands in it. Right, this lad Chris, when we were on the history trail, he was a savant, a maths savant. So like you could literally say to him, the year 1214 to the year 3000, and straight away he'll give you the difference on it. So anyway, when we got in,
Some of them are clever, yeah.
no, this guy was beyond clever, I swear.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah.
genius,
Geniuses.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
He was a
yeah.
born genius, a savant. And so when we got into the circle, right? I noticed that he didn't like people touching him. He didn't like people holding hands with him. And there was this girl, she kind of used to follow him around quite a bit. Christopher, his name was. I know it's weird, right? I'm terrible with names, but you know, if someone's on the autistic spectrum or something, I will never forget the name. Never. It's bizarre. But anyway, so he was going, nah, don't want to touch anybody. And then this girl, Melissa, I spotted her because she was acting like she had the same problem that Christopher had because she saw him as a leader, right? So I was just looking at this, like playing out in body language and all that. And then she was going, we don't like touching people, do we? Not I don't like, you know what I mean? She's now trying to form a gang with Christopher, right? So it's during sorry, not Christopher, yeah, with Christopher. And then so at lunchtime, at lunch break, I was in some room with the Oliver lad, right? And I went, listen, let's make one of those really, those big convoluted handshakes that go on forever. You're like, yeah, do, and all that. So I said, let's do that. And we started with a fist bump, and then we shake hands like that, and then we do this, and this. And then she was just wandering past down the corridor, right? And she was going, like, this is it to say, I want to see what you're talking about, but I feel a little bit vulnerable. So I said, oh no, and so it's all right, Melissa, man, because I said, Oliver, only cool people can do this handshake, can't they? Only you've got to be super cool to do the handshake. But we didn't like engage her. We weren't really even talking to her directly. But she just made her way up to the little classroom that we were in, right? And then I showed her how to do it. Now she was like that because it starts with a fist bump. She was fine with that when you do the little handshake, but she was like that. You know what I mean? And she wasn't really fully having it. Basically, she wasn't fully having it. Do you know what I'm saying? So they were about 12 at the time. Those kids, right? I swear to you now. I think it was about like 5 years later or something like that when she was like 17. I bumped into her in some community centre in Everton, and what did she do? Came up to me and did the whole handshake.
Got it right this time.
Yeah, man, do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? She just came
yeah.
straight up and I'd remembered it that whole time for years.
It's funny, man. Funny
Mm,
stories.
amazing.
Edison, leave your camera back on now. Welcome, welcome back on footage.
I'm actually here, he
Yeah,
says.
and
As opposed to be
and I'm looking at your background as well. Your background's amazing. It's pure
I think
spiritual.
his background should be the interior of a car.
Yeah, that's powerful, that man.
I tell you
You
what,
know,
a couple of minutes and like half an
yeah,
hour ago it was.
yeah.
Mm,
Now back off the road anyway. Another energy now. When you're on
Always.
that flying down motorway, it's like a different energy. Depending on the traffic.
Thankfully, it was a quick journey. It wasn't too bad. There was no roadworks on a Sunday, which is rare.
Well, that affects the energy that when you see them road works and you can only go 50 or 40 or something.
oh,
There was none of that, thank
Yeah,
God.
you go smooth.
It was, it was.
Good, good.
What I was saying in reference to what everyone has said, which is really interesting because in my own practice and what have you, we do counseling and we do what we call spiritual counseling. So ultimately, we're looking for a point in a person's life when they stop being themselves. All of us literally travel through life, and there's one event that we can't sort of make sense of, almost like a betrayal. And what happens is, after that point, our energy stops, and then we have to become something else in order to survive. So, who you are is essentially how you've had to cope with all the things that you've been through. So, it's so important. But what Patrick and sorry, Raz was saying, anchor is for the fact that that thing that someone remembers from back then is what is holding them in that position. So when you're trying to communicate with them, you can't communicate in a way which you're making the person feel uncomfortable. I see a lot of therapists nowadays, they like this uncomfortable thing where they essentially don't mind you being uncomfortable in order to get you to see the hidden parts of yourself, which is very good. But you find if you do that sometimes with someone who's very vulnerable, they'll shut down even further. So
Mm.
you almost got to approach this person and have them feel that you honestly want to listen to them, that you honestly care the outcome of what takes place to them, and they're not just a number, they're not just a suspicion. And if you can get them to feel that and they can trust you, then they will want to open up to you because it's not that they don't want to talk, it's just they don't trust that you really care or you're
Mm.
about to listen. So as soon as you can give them that platform and you're looking them eye to eye or matching them sound wise or just showing that you're repeating what they say so that it shows that you care and not in a way that you're doing a robotic. You're just answering the questions and you're listening to them, repeating it, but asking even more in-depth questions so that the person feels like you want to know. And that's half of the work. Because
Mm.
from once you've got that situation, the person might not know how to communicate with you, but they know if they don't do it perfectly, you're going to try and listen. And as long as they can get to that point where both of you are actually on the same page, then essentially your work is half done because they're there because they don't know what to do. They want to listen to you, but they got to trust that you care enough to actually tell them something which is good and what they can trust. So a lot of your mental health is being safe with who you're with. As long as you can feel safe with that person, like you said with the handshake, like you were saying before, you're in a situation where the person will never forget that, will
Mm.
never forget what you did. And the next time they see you, they will respond to you the way you responded to them. And that way you can get to the point where the person's nervous system per se can feel comfortable in your environment so that they can start to heal themselves and ponder their thoughts because their brain is so hyper vigilant for fear of something going wrong. They don't have space to think. They don't
Mm.
have space to bring themselves in balance. So when you're trying to put someone into the well-being, it's just well balanced
Yeah.
so that they can handle the emotions that they have and they
Mm.
can feel that there's a way out. Because when people are lost, because they can't see a way out of where they are and they want help, but they're thinking, you're taking advantage. What do you want for it? All that kind of thing. Even if you tell them it's their job, but you care because they're another human being, they'll watch you to check if what you're saying is correct. And
Yeah.
when they can't fault you, the whole guard comes down. And that
Mm.
is a healing in themselves when the guard comes down. Even if you do nothing, just
Mm.
bringing their guard down, letting them believe, they will go along with you. And if anything you say works out, you're a friend for life. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Deep.
man.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Some of the things you were saying as well. Everyone's touched on some deep things, and also like you pick up on people's energy, just like you were saying. You pick up on body language, eye contact. There's many different things, and then just the energetic field. All these vibrations, low vibrations, good vibrations, and this is all the people that we meet throughout life anyway. Whether it was your friends, whether it was your family, whether it was just people you don't even know, you can feel the energy. So it is. We don't. It's like we are real powerful beings, and like we must tap it back into that true self, the true self. We can say spirituality, but it is the true self of who we are. And like you mentioned last time about all these labels, Edison, you mentioned
Mm.
last time, all these different labels were given, you know, and it's like it's like a makeup, with it's almost like a big pantomime, and like you're waiting for the curtain to come back, and everything's the whole life. You can just see everything is orchestrated. It doesn't have to be through government. It can be through something beyond, something more powerful. And yes, governments play that major role in trying to steer the society well on a global level, new world order, and
Mm.
So for those, like unity, really is the only thing, the only strength what we can actually use. Because if you think of energy from an individual is only so powerful, but energy between a large number of people, the force is more powerful. So I think in all the communities that we look today, I could go as far as looking in Kenya, for example, meeting the Maasai tribes. Now, where they stay near the savannah, because you think about city life, the city life. I know people got to be there because they got to work and that's where they got to earn. But the rural life is like the best life in a village. It's the best life for your health, your own personal wealth. Not materialistic, the natural world. So yeah, another thing I want to add on with you, Raz, as well. Because you've looked at stuff from a spiritual level, physical level, mental level. Like the certain indigenous type of peoples who I've spoke to, and they've related that some people who'll go mad. It can be like some will say like, well, it's good spirits, bad spirits, and something goes overboard. But then sometimes you look deeper into it and think, what's manipulating humanity in this type of way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like even from a traditional setting or religious setting, like for example, I'll just use Islam.
Yeah.
Like say Muslims, right? Will talk about jinn and Christians will talk about demons, and it's all like relatively same thing, just different. Just different like label, right? So, for example, I'm not pushing Western medical models or nothing, or diagnosis or nothing. So, for example, if I saw like somebody was talking about demons or jinn, I would say, okay, I would say, you know what? It doesn't, how you describe it is fine because ultimately it's how these things you're experiencing make you feel. And if it makes you feel in pain or discomfort, we're here to help. And I use a metaphor, it's a cheesy metaphor, but I say years ago, Snickers were known in this country as Marathon. Okay. And then in 1990, it got rebranded as Snickers as the international name, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they call it. It's still peanuts, nugget, and chocolate and caramel. Yeah. So, and it's interesting because I did like a presentation because I like to do presentations sometimes for the people I'm working with, right?
Nice.
So we were looking at, for example, that the Western, you shouldn't like all these practitioners should not feel that this medical model is the pinnacle of everything. If you're working with somebody who has religious ideas, religious faith, and they have a priest or an imam or a Rasta elder or whatever, an African traditional healer involved, deal with them. Don't relegate it. Work with it because that you're looking to. If you are genuine, you're looking to really help this person. You can't cut off that vibration and that energy that person has invested in most times, almost a lifetime in. You have to work with it. And I've been with people where just after, like, they've been given a spiritual bath, and I've been there with a psychiatrist. I was working with a black psychiatrist called Kwame McKenzie, who he lives in Canada now. He was quite forward thinking. And he dealt with that because it's not about one size fits all. You have to work with the community. And if you're really working with the community and you respect the community, you have to work with what the people, hold important and valuable and dear to them. You know what I mean? And not only that, when you look at jinn, so I was teaching, like, not teaching, but I was doing a presentation. I was saying, well, when you call, like, say people in Islam would say jinn, or people from the East may say jinn, right? And we say, okay, so that's connected to the word generate, generation of power. To generate is to produce power, right? Genius and all these things come from the same root, right? So basically, I said, as I'm doing this presentation, I said, if you heard someone talk about jinn, don't worry about, you don't have to get into doctrine. They're talking, what they're saying to you is a force is in opposition against them. That's what they're saying. And when you wake up in the morning and you go to start your car, when you put your key in the ignition, what you're starting, you say the engine. I say, well, there you go then, the engine. And they call alcohol distilled spirits. They call it spirits, you know.
Mm.
You know, that's not coincidental. That can't be. And one of the drinks is called gin.
Mm.
And the gin is in the bottle. And the genie is in the bottle. The gin is the genie, and so on and so forth. So, like, it's all about just trying to open up your mindset and know that even regardless of what discipline, you know what I mean? They say, like, whether you're a social worker or a nurse or a doctor, you have to be open to much, much more than just Western psychiatry or Western psychology. You have to, it's important, yeah, but you have to open it up to appreciate the differences, the diversity of the people. And you have to try and learn about people, because if you're in the game, call it a game, but if you're in the business of trying to heal people, you have to try and know a little bit about people. You can't be ignorant in working with people, because, like we said about the word sound is the power. And if you're careless, you could say something or do something that is a great offense. Or you could say something and do something that is a great joy. And that can inform the way the journey goes, you know?
Yeah, interesting. Powerful, man. Yeah, Patrick, anything you want to add on?
No, only in agreement
Yeah.
in basically, well, what Nick said about, you know, working with that and taking that on board, and you know, even if it's something that could go against your beliefs or whatever, you know what I mean, or not say go against, but something you just don't believe in, that, you know, if someone has invested basically, especially when you're dealing with adults, a lifetime in this thing, this belief system or whatever, then you need to work with that. If you truly want to help them, you don't have to understand it and debate it and then get into, well, no, it's not really like that, and start reinterpreting it for them, or telling them why this way is better or that way is better. It's about dealing with, as you said, that negative energy is bringing bad vibes into their life, and you want to, you know, help them overcome that. So you need to, you know, understand that, because, you know, a lot of things is about understanding, you know what I mean, and gaining that trust, and for somebody to wanna, you know, because someone who's going through any level of mental health crisis or any level of not being well, their being is unwell, wants to get better. Yeah, no matter how they might phrase it, even if they just clam up and say nothing, they want to change that. You know what I mean? Especially after engaging with you on any level. You know what I mean? And engaging could be, oh, well, I was in the room with them, they wouldn't speak to me. But the fact that they're in the room with you means they're engaging, yeah? Because they're not engaged, you might not even go as far as coming to the room with you. You know what I mean? And engagement takes many different forms. And sometimes it might just be good just to sit there in silence with some people, because that might be therapeutic for them in some ways, because whatever bad energies they're dealing with could be, from their point of view, voices that they're constantly hearing inside their own mind. You know what I mean? So to sit there with a physical presence and be silent might, for them, keep that voice silent in their head throughout that time period that you're with them. You know what I mean? And when they're ready to speak, you know, listen. They just touched on it before. Nick's touched on it before. You know, listening is a powerful thing, because especially when you're working with people who are trying to overcome things when it comes to mental well-being. You know what I mean? They encounter a lot of people who know best, or say they know best, and they've got every answer. I'm just telling them, well, it's this, and I know why you do this because that, and you need to simply just overcome it. Like, almost as if like they're working with an engine, a computer system, that it works this way. So if I do this and tweak that, then it'll be fixed. You know what I mean? And I apply it to you, apply it to you, and apply it to you, and they forget about the individual, and that, you know, one size doesn't fit all.
So
Obviously, you
sort
know
of
what I mean?
like, yeah, sort of like, for example, do you mean, like, say you could get the most qualified person, qualification wise, and then competing with someone who doesn't have qualifications, but he has just
Yeah, no. That's yeah.
brilliant
So
skills,
it's
if you
about
know what I mean.
treating people as individuals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Because
There
sometimes
might
people
be,
base things
well,
on
let me finish. There
qualifications.
might
That's
be
what I was
general
saying. Yeah,
approaches.
yeah,
There might be general approaches,
yeah,
but that's, you've got to try to get to know that person on whatever level before you can then decide what approach is best, rather than just come
mm,
in with an approach thinking, well, I'll try this, then
mm,
I'll try that, and I'll try this, and I'll try it until one of them works. That's not the way to go about it, because by doing that, you could be antagonizing, infuriating that person by coming with all these, different, literally like trying to put different blocks in a hole until eventually one fits.
yeah,
That might work with a game, but when you're dealing with somebody's emotions, that can be quite traumatic for them. You know what I mean? So it's about trying to get to know them first, and then you'd be doesn't mean you're going to get it right, but you'd be more informed to make the best choice to try to get it right for them, and
yeah,
and to help them, because you're only there to help and guide them and support them. You're not there to tell them. And so they're not an engine where this piston goes here, that nut goes there, that bolt goes there, and it's all uniform across the board. When it comes to people,
yeah,
they've all got minds, they've all got spirits, they've all got mental health, but they all operate on different wavelengths and different energy systems and different so on. So you've got to be able to tune into that in
yeah,
whatever way to be able to best help them. Because just to finish off, because you know, energy as it builds up, it's got to build up because to lift them up, to elevate them, you know what I mean? So they're no longer feeling down, because it's best to be elevated, to be up than to be down, and building up energy in whatever form that takes, from the simplistic engine point of view. I need to go to a high speed, so I need to get there. You can only get there gradually. You don't go from 0 to 100 in no seconds. It takes some time to get there,
yeah.
and building up that vibe and that energy with
Well, let
that
me,
person will take some
yeah,
time to get there also.
nice, nice. Put that down. Very nice there. Curtis, anything to add on?
Yeah, man, little bits. I was just thinking about my daughter. She's got ADHD, hasn't that whole generation, pretty much.
Mm.
Um,
Is that the new? That's the new name, isn't it? Did he have an old name? Is that
it
this
used to
sort of
be
new
called
name?
ADS, attention
Okay.
deficit syndrome. Then they changed it to the hyperactive syndrome or something. What is it? Yeah. Yeah, ADHD. So when she came to live with me, she was still taking those speed, basically. You know what I
Mm.
mean? The pharmaceutical. I mean, Ritalin, whatever you want to call it, just give it different name. It's the same drug. Uh, has she touched any of it ever since she's been here? No. Because we have supplements every we have ashwagandha, we have mushroom complex, which got lion's mane in it, and chaga and all that really good stuff, which is also good for fighting free radicals in your body. We take ginkgo biloba every day. I just
Mm.
have them out every morning today. If I go to work and I leave her on her own, she knows she's gonna go to the kitchen and they'll all be there. And it's all, it's all good stuff that, a lot of our ancestors have used, and, people from any indigenous people in recent history uh, are taking those things. That's an Ayurvedic thing, isn't it? Ashwagandha, it's from southern India.
Mm.
Yeah, so all them things, and has she had any meltdowns? No, when she was living with her mum, she was having meltdowns, like and like scratching herself and stuff like that.
When you're working with a lot of people, you were saying with autism before.
Mm,
I was interested in, like, a lot of these vaccinations children are
yeah.
getting. Did you see like a link with some of these vaccinations with autism?
Mm,
Because I mean, like I said, I'm not saying that I'm speaking facts. I'm just saying that these things have to always be looked into. And obviously,
yeah.
if you're the parent, then
Yeah, they do.
some parents might just be like, "Go on, just get them in. It's going to save the
Mm,
life in the future and this and that." And some parents might be more skeptical. I don't want to. I know a lot of people who don't get the children vaccinated from it.
mm,
There's a lot of needles now, isn't it? There's a lot of
yeah.
vaccines for youth and that.
Yeah,
That's
they
why I
used they
mentioned
used the same thing that they used with COVID, with that MMRA. What was it called?
that.
MMRA or
I
something.
know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
That one, that was the controversial one, wasn't it? And then it was the reason that it was difficult to to diagnose it was because people don't really have that good speech until they're like two and a half. It can
Mm.
be like some words might be accurate, some might be like half made up sort of thing and all that. So you can't really necessarily tell whether they got autism at that age yet or anything.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
normally when they get to that like 5, 6 year old, when they start getting more energetic, you can understand most paragraphs that you say to them and things like that.
Mm.
So yes, it's I don't know. I mean, the jury's out really because it's one of those things. It's hard to. That's why it's been so difficult over time. Is that causing it or not? And
Yeah.
do you know they put E. coli into into the vaccines? Not the whole E. coli, but the like a mark of it into the
Mm.
vaccines, even COVID vaccine,
Yeah, I
especially
can
the
believe
American
that.
one.
I
Yeah,
can
man.
believe they've
Yeah,
been messing about in that.
because that is good. It's well not good, but it's very efficient at getting into your cells, the E. coli thing. But again, if you look at this generation now, who are like in the mid-teens or whatever or early teens, a lot of them have got not only autism spectrum but ADHD as well. But then if you're going to give them speed and all that, which to them it slows the brain down. I
Yeah.
mean, I have little snippets. I'm not like my daughter, but like I do know that I'm somewhere on the spectrum or something, man, which kind of why I can relate to people. Do you know what I mean? I get obsessive over things, and but the one thing I don't do is I don't have meltdowns or
Mm.
anything like
Yeah.
that. It's just more of a seeing things slightly different than your average person doesn't. That's Patrick's a creative. We're all bloody creatives here, do you know what I mean, our own way. And
Yeah.
and so it's really good for you to be creative and to be around creative environments, even if it's not you doing the creative stuff.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's really fundamental. Yeah. No, we
Yeah.
should do sometime. And I was gonna say in the Caribbean Centre, but the jury's out on that one, man. We all hit the town hall the other day, didn't we? Yeah,
Yeah.
man, we hit
Yeah.
the town hall, man. It was good. It was a good day that. But yeah, it'd be good because we should do an African circle, some drum circle sometime. Like
Yeah,
find a
definitely.
spot. Or
Yeah.
just like, when the weather gets a bit nicer,
Yeah, yeah, true, true.
meet up in Sefton Park, bring a chair,
Definitely, man.
a hot
Definitely
Definitely.
djembes, I got me a go-go
summertime.
bells. Yes,
Summertime.
as
And
soon
you know
as,
what? You
even
don't
if it's
even have
late
to.
spring, as long as it's nice and warm, bro. You know what I
At the end of
mean?
the day, sometimes you start off with these things small. Sometimes, say
Mm.
if unless you just want a lot of people there and you're promoting it on social media, that's. But just say you want like a good few people there,
Mm.
you barbecue, just drums, music, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, man, that goes
Lifts,
without saying,
lifts,
definitely.
lifts the lifts the
Yeah,
positive
Edison.
energy, man.
I want to
Yeah.
come to Edison now. You know where all this psychedelics and all that.
Uh,
Um,
do you mind if I go back to the previous question? Because I didn't
Yeah,
get.
yeah, but I'll
Yeah,
tell on it in a bit. But go back to where you wanted to.
huge subject because in African traditions,
Mm,
when we appreciate that an individual is about 6 or 7 different personalities as standard. You're going to be one person with your mum, one person with your father, one
Mm.
person with your friends, one person with your loved one person with your kids, or one person who you are at work. And each of these things are
mm,
personalities that you've created to help you handle situations.
Mm.
yeah.
You also got personalities that you created from trauma paradigms.
Yes.
These personalities come in and they're really supposed to defend you, but essentially they can be quite rough and
Mm.
hard when they're actually doing it. Someone could all of a sudden, you've known them for years, you trigger them on a certain subject, and the face that you're seeing is a totally different person. There's a next energy coming at you.
That
So
charge.
much of what I do and I understand in all these different things is to isolate and identify different personalities
Mm.
and how much power that personality has over the rest of the personalities.
Mm.
Because sometimes the mental health is where you've got a rogue personality, one that has shut down all the rest and now is professing to be the main one of that person. Now, if you know how to get to that personality and how to shut it down, you can kill that person, that personality within that person if they can find the original memory that created it.
Mm,
Yeah, so if it's an event they went through, situation they went through, they
Mm.
thought they had to be that way, you can go back to that time, have them
Yes.
look at that personality and work out. For this, if you've ever seen a show, there's a show that they got on Apple TV called The Crowded Room. Tell you, if you see that, you will not need, not to say you won't need to ask, but it's the most spiritual way of telling you about how an individual through trauma picks up different personalities which act on that
Yes.
person's behalf without that person even being aware that that took
Call it
place.
fragmented, isn't it? Fragmentation.
Yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
like
All
say
these
people with the
personalities.
old, you know, that like when you mentioned about all these different personalities, kind of like some way alter egos.
They're
And
alters. They call them
yeah,
alters.
yeah,
They call them alters, but these alters are so powerful, you
mm,
don't even know you've changed into it. They will
yeah,
go, act, speak, do things on your behalf. And then when you go back and say, you know what, you did that, you would swear blind you didn't, because this altered personality would come, take over your behavior, and basically defend you through that whole period.
yeah,
So we're always aware whenever someone's coming to us to say, okay, which personality is the rogue one? Which one is out of control? Which one is making you do things you're not even aware you're doing? And how do we shut that down? Because if we can shut that down, then hopefully the other ones can come forward and take over and put you in a state of balance. So whenever I see someone coming and they got personalities and it seems like that, I necessarily, there are things you can also do once you understand how to basically talk down that personality. The same thing with the drums used to shut down personalities where someone has a spirit mount them, and this spirit, it could be ancestral, could be whatever, and you can drum in a certain way so that this spirit goes back to where it comes. You have
Yes,
people speaking in tongues, that you have them in church where the church will start speaking in tongues and you see the person start wavering, and that stuff is real because the entity that is within them now is wavering because you said something to agitate it. It doesn't mean that the entity's gone. That is a whole process, which is something much more advanced. Well,
well, you know
advanced if you
what?
don't know what it is.
Well,
But go ahead.
sorry, yeah, no, I was just going to say, see, like for example, now where people can have major different alter ego personalities. Say, for example, like Raz, you know this person very well, someone, and they're acting out a character, but they don't know that you're onto them, if you know what I mean. And you kind of like sometimes you can humble a person, so you've shattered one of his egos. Sometimes you get people they put on a facade, like in front of different people, but then say they seen you, but they don't know you like that, and you don't know them like that. Then sometimes people can get humble, especially if you mention something. Sometimes you see people act in different ways, and you're like, well, that's you know. So I'm gonna actually go and carry on what you're saying. Then Raz
Yeah,
join in
no,
after. Yeah,
it's really a case of,
yeah,
look, the thing is, the Africans had a way of understanding it. It was seen as brutal when the West came over because they had psychiatry, which basically explains everything and nothing at the same time. They give you a coping mechanism, not a cure. So I don't want to offend anyone if someone thinks they're to the contrary, but that's why they need the medication to shut down your brain so that your brain doesn't act in a certain way. They're literally cutting you off within yourself. Yeah, you may be stuck on an idea, but let's be honest, this whole reality is built on a fake idea. That's why everyone's always trying to look for new answers, because they know that the answer that they have isn't true. They know that this isn't how it's supposed to be. This is why when you go to places in Africa and you see the people in the village, you don't see them craving technology like that because they have their own mental technology. They're able to do
so
things that we have lost the capacity because we've become so advanced, we're individually stupid. We don't
yeah,
know nothing.
that's it,
Yeah.
man.
So in this instance, when it comes to the whole concept of personalities, it gets deep, it gets into entities, it gets into all kinds of things. And you know, someone will say it's a belief system. I say you have to look at yourself and work out how much of you is actually generated by you and how much is being generated by everyone else.
Know thyself, man.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
man.
point.
Know thyself. Raz.
The biggest
know
trick,
thyself, man. Yeah.
the biggest
Yeah, no, just go on, finish, bro.
the biggest magic is to make it appear normal. So
Yeah,
much of the stuff we do abnormal getting up every day, going like ants to work,
Yeah, yeah.
your life out, doing all of that. And if you're not being abnormal, everyone thinks you're insane.
Yeah, that's true. That's
We're in
true,
this
man.
like where we dismiss what the
It's true.
Indians did and what all the natural people, I mean, the what do you call it, indigenous people did, because they understood the spirit. They were looking at your spirit and say, "Look, son, you're not in control of all the different thoughts and energies you have.
Hmm.
What can we do to bring you back into balance? What do we need to say?" We can see the energies behind you because our eyes haven't been shut off to only believe what we're told. So we can see movement, we can see entities, we can see things moving around you, much like a cat can do and a
Mm.
baby can do.
Yeah, yeah.
Baby will stand up,
Beautiful thing. Yeah, yeah.
and you're saying, who are you scratching at? But it sees the energy that is there
Yeah.
that you now don't have the actual
Yeah.
wavelength to be able to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Definitely.
cat isn't mad. It's you're the one who's mad because you can't see what you're seeing.
That's right,
So
man.
we're in a paradigm which is really weird because we have beliefs that teach us that we can't do anything. And
Yeah.
we're in a situation where everyone is suffering from a level of madness because you're in a mad world where their aim is to make you mad.
Yeah,
Yeah?
man. Yeah. Nice. Anyway, man.
It's true.
Yeah, it is. Raz.
Yeah. No, I'd just like to say, because I stayed over about maybe 38, 39 minutes more than I wouldn't say I wanted to, because I've wanted to be here, and I just
Yeah.
think the subject matters we've discussed as usual have been quite enriching. You know what I mean? It's a pleasure to
Definitely.
participate and hear. You know what I mean? Because like we're saying, we're just trying to make sense of the madness of this political world that we're in. Not necessarily the earth, but when we start looking at the earth, we're more in getting harmonized with nature and the cosmos. But when we talk of the world, we're talking about a political structure that is very damaging. You know what I mean? Very unsettling, very warlike, beast-like. You know what I mean? And we're under the cosh all the time, and it's difficult to circumnavigate through that. You know what I mean? But we'll try our best to. And I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. You know what I mean? Just to say, we can talk about magic. It's just the power of words, isn't it, really, regardless of language. We can talk about magic, and we have this idea, oh, magic, Harry Potter, hocus pocus. And we talk about magnetic, and we have a different thing. But for me, it's the same thing. Because
Well,
if you have the power over magnetism, it will seem like magic to the uninitiated. It's the same thing. We just have to retune, like we're talking about sound
Yeah.
mind, multiple personality or fragmented personality. Yeah. That's what's happened to a lot of us collectively. Most people in the world that's happened to. And I think when you're coming from, you know what I mean, a rich, rich history, a rich ancestry, a rich heritage, and it's been denied to you, or you've been damaged, you've been rebranded, because we were rebranded in the marketplaces and sold, and we have to get back into tune, and become sound of mind, spirit, and body, and retune ourselves with the cosmos like our ancestors did. You know what I mean? And I think we're doing that. I don't think it's like we're not doing it. We are doing it, and we're able to share our experience and knowledge. It's a beautiful thing.
This is
But
why
I'd
we're
just like to
drawn
say,
to this type of sort of forum. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because,
man.
our ancestry is not thousands and thousands of years ago. It goes back thousands of years, but it's
Yeah.
right here now
Yes.
in us. So we're living in, like you were saying, I'm paraphrasing, but we're in an artificial world for
Yeah, man.
us, because we're all quite spiritual people. Do you know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
In our own right, we look at, we're all honourable generally. Do you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And we try our best. You try, like, pretty much everything everyone's been talking about is helping other people
Mhm.
on this podcast.
Helping us, isn't it?
Yeah,
Helping us.
Yeah, you know
absolutely.
what?
Because you get that
Yeah,
feedback. You get
it
that
is the
feedback,
true
man.
that
Yeah,
therapy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely, man, and it's needed. But
Much
definitely,
needed.
as soon as I get the opportunity, because I know you got to go, Raz.
Thank you, sir.
We'll get the drum circle out, man. We'll do
Yeah,
some
man.
drumming and that. You know what I
I'll
mean?
I'll I'll make sure, because I was supposed to come up there. Things didn't happen, but when I get back in the country, I will come up there, and it will be beautiful to get that vibe. But I'd just like to say, we're talking about wellness, well-being. I'm going to have to say farewell. Okay.
Because you're a being.
Bless me. Patrick, don't worry about the result, you know. Yeah.
I'm a Liverpool
Oh,
supporter.
yeah.
Yeah, I like to get beat. I like to share it. Newcastle haven't won nothing for 70 years. We give thanks for
Well,
Newcastle.
the bread and
I'm
butter
sorry.
is coming just now. That's, as Shanks would say, the bread and butter is
Do you
there.
ever gamble on it, Patrick? Do you ever put a little punt on it? On the match? Do you ever put a little few pennies on the match? No, good.
I've got me black and white hat on, Curtis.
I always say if you're gonna
Gambling,
bet,
is that good for well-being?
if you're gonna bet against your own team.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Always.
Yeah.
Listen, take care, brethren.
Raz,
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Nice
Bless
one,
up, man.
brothers.
thank you for
One
your
love,
contributions, man.
Give
Yeah, nice
thanks,
one,
man.
bros.
Solid, bro.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
And have a good
Peace
trip
and
when you
love,
go. Yeah.
Every time.
Ubuntu, man. Ubuntu.
Yeah. Nice. Anyway, interesting. Patrick, you know, if you want to add on.
No, I think I'll be signing off myself just now
Yeah.
because
Well, we go
you know,
round just one more, and then
we've gone round a few times, and you know, just the last note I want to sign off on is like, um, we've talked a lot about things not only that are positive to well-being, but obviously, you know, there's been a greater focus on things that are negative. And when I say a focus, I mean that in a sense, it's more of a warning and letting people know what to look out for, these pitfalls that can undermine your well-being. And one of the things that is universal to everybody, whether you live out in the natural environments, you know, far away from so-called civilization, you know what I mean? But you know, or you're in the heart of a metropolis city, you know what I mean? A Gotham City or whatever you want to call it. One thing that everybody uses for different reasons is music. You know what I mean? And music is a powerful being. We touched on it a lot in the last discussion, on when we were talking about black consciousness and whatnot. But music is a powerful thing. There's times where you're just feeling on a different vibe for whatever reason, you know what I mean? But it's not a good vibe. And there's a go-to set of tunes that you will play, and you'll revisit them all the time, whether it be weekly, monthly. But you might go on YouTube, or you might pick out your selection of CDs, tape, whatever it might be, and there might be this 5, 10, 20 tunes that you'll just drop, and it just lifts you. You know what I mean? And you might not even know what was making you feel a bad vibe, but them tunes will take you up and pick you up from that bad vibe. You know what I mean? And music, as I said, across every society is a powerful medium, and is a cure for bad state of well-being to a good state of well-being. Because there's music when you're happy, you will play it. There's music when you're sad, you will play it. There's music when you just want to feel whatever, you know what I mean, you will play it. There's a music that meets every single vibe, but ultimately music makes everybody feel good, because you don't play music to make you necessarily feel sad. You could be in an environment where a tune comes on and it brings back a bad memory, but that's not, you didn't put it on, you know what I mean? So it's not like down to you, but when you're in control of the music yourself, it's always just to pick up the vibe. So basically that's what I want to finish on. You know what I mean? Anyone feeling down, have your go-to tunes and put them on, whether it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours, put them on and just lift yourself up. Whatever ambient you want to play. Some people might, unfortunately, to increase their well-being, might distress the well-being of the neighbours because they might jump out some serious bass line loud. So even though that's doing good for your well-being, it's actually impacting on the well-being of the neighbours, where they're thinking, "Oh, not again." You know what I mean? But you know, music is that go-to. So never forget
interesting.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Curtis, anything to add on?
Well, I don't think anyone would disagree with what Patrick just said about music there, man. Do you know what I mean? Because, yeah, you've always got that song. Remember, I was talking about Errol when he came into the 20 Stories High. Remember, Patrick? I was telling you about it.
Mm.
he was talking about Bob Marley and the Wailers being on the old Grey Whistle test and that. That's what that project was, man, because I realized that when I was in like aunties' houses and that, I'd always go to them, have you got that record? Have you still got that record? And they'd, yeah, man, where is it? In the cupboard upstairs, man. I need to just get rid of some stuff. So then we did that anyway. We went and interviewed people, or people who wanted to come in the office came in the office and spoke about what the favorite tunes are and why, like life changing tunes, records. Because if you've still got your vinyl, do you know what I mean? You wanna sort of talk about it and stuff like that. Anyway, that's what we did. And then also another question we asked them while they were listening to the favorite songs and that. Um, I asked them, what if your family came together now, what would you eat? And then what we did is we gave them all £50 each, all the people who got interviewed, and then they brought a sample to the event that we were having, which was in what's it called round Mount Carmel, where everyone uses the function room. In there, we did
Yeah,
an
yeah,
event.
yeah,
We did an event in there,
yeah,
and played all the music. That was the music. The DJ played all the music that they'd highlighted, and everyone brought a little snippet of food from what their family's culture is and whatnot. It was
yeah.
really good event. That,
Interesting,
yeah, man.
and at point before, Raz mentioned about therapy. Even though just having a conversation together as a
Mm,
group is like a form of therapy, really, because ain't no one know what Edison might have experienced late yesterday or earlier. No one knows what you've just experienced maybe today or the last week, Curtis,
mm,
and the same
mm,
with Patrick. So even though people don't have to like express the problems, but at the same time, just taking in positive information might
mm,
pick the mind or make people think, so even myself, as for myself, I find this is therapy. It's
mm.
like, is my counselors also, you know,
Yeah, for real.
because these things are important because we can go and turn on the TV and listen to some random guy, or go you were in school, listen to this guy who's a
Mm,
teacher, and there's no really connection. Like you were saying before, people who you're comfortable with, you open up more.
mm.
So it's interesting. Anyway, Edison, let you finish off this.
Yeah, in honesty, it was again, we can't argue with what Patrick said. Music is free medicine.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
Everybody, everything, plants, animals, everything has their version of it.
mm,
Our
yeah,
bodies work in music, our cells. You can tell a healthy cell by the music it creates. You can
mm,
tell an unhealthy cell by the music it creates. Everything is working in synchronicity. This is why a drum circulates energy around you. So,
mm,
for your well being, regardless of who you are, wherever you are, is you just play that tune, isn't it? You just find that tune that moves you into a different space inside your mind, into a place where it doesn't hurt. It literally doesn't hurt again. Whatever thought you're having, you've got a tune that gives you lyrics, that gives you sounds, that gives you something that separates it. I didn't give Patrick his flowers last time when we were talking about Blue Notes because
mm,
that was science. That wasn't just
mm,
music. When those guys were playing that jazz, which is my favorite music, they
mm,
were basically channeling. Just they didn't even know what was going to come next.
Mm.
Because there's no way you can plan that. You're just moving your spirit and basically creating that tune on the drums, on the piano. All those Philoxenius Monk and all those guys,
mm.
what were they doing? They were taking drugs even to get them into higher places so that they can bring
well,
forward other.
you're actually answering the question what I was asking you before about psychedelics. So
Oh
continue,
yes,
continue what
oh,
you're
the
saying. You've just
psychedelics. That's
waiting for
good.
that one.
I'm glad you didn't. We didn't go into that one because that's all that ayahuasca.
No, I
That's
was
all
going to
that
mention about that
yoga.
one.
That's all those different things. Which literally, here's the irony.
Do you look at these like are these would you say like I mean like I said I wouldn't actually go out and take it myself. I
Mhm.
just listened to different people who said that they took ayahuasca. I
Yeah.
mean there was a woman actually, a black woman as well, young lady who passed away. She was seeing this in about the last couple of weeks or a month or something coming from these places in the Amazon. And so
Mm,
that's what I'm saying. That's why like me personally I wouldn't actually take it, but for some people, they felt they got something out of it. And I wouldn't encourage people. I'm just saying, like, these type of psychedelics we're
No, the
talking about.
mushrooms, all of that can work for you
Yeah,
and take you to a different part of yourself.
yeah.
What it does, it shuts down your continuation with the world. So it shuts down. All of us are perpetually maintaining this illusion. There's four walls. There's a place. This place is called this. This
Mm,
place is called that. All of these things that have been labeled and created by someone else. The drug actually stops you and allows you to travel into yourself, connect with beings that are within you, and able to have you experience certain life-changing information. You can do it without the drugs.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Natural
And you
high.
have to work out whose trip is it? Is it yours or the plant's?
Mm,
Because if you could do it without the plant, then you wouldn't call it the plant, but it's the plant that is having the trip. The
yeah,
plant is inducing the trip within you. So what type of things does that plant do by
yeah,
itself? When that plant, if it can make you travel into all those dimensions, when you're looking at a tree, where is that tree's consciousness traveling to? What is it capable of doing?
deep.
And this
Yeah,
is where we stop. This is where when you're talking about music and all these things, you don't know what this nature is doing.
The
The
dawn
earth
chorus.
making you do that. Travel. The earth has energies within them, entities, entities in the air, entities in the water, entities in the fire. Even wind is a group of entities
Mm.
that
You
literally
know,
have come together to create a concentration of air so that they can push objects.
you know,
yeah, yeah,
you
deep.
know
This is
the dawn chorus.
Who's that? That sounds familiar.
When you're in the forest and all the birds
Oh,
are
oh, okay,
singing and stuff, and there's
okay.
whatever animals are making whatever sounds they make, like in the
Yeah,
jungle. So
yeah,
the
when so
best.
when that dawn chorus happens, under the lower part of the leaf, the leaves
yeah,
in the trees and all the plants, they've got I can't remember what they're called, but they've got these little pores, but they're like a little mouth that opens and closes, right? To breathe for the leaf. I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, they don't so if you've got a plant in a house and or even in a garden and there's no dawn chorus, that plant won't be as healthy as it would have been unless it's in like the natural environment. Listen to the birds sing. It's bizarre.
yeah.
Like
Deep,
they've
deep.
even like just done it artificial, like they've like recorded it and then just played it back in labs and same
Mm.
thing.
Well, I was
They've
watching something, man. They
healthier
done
plant.
some. You see, with mainstream science and that, like where they only talk about so much, and then we have to find things like that are not that are less mainstream. But now, mainstream now, it's starting to speak a little bit more about things like talking about,
The depth of it, yeah, the
but yeah,
depth of life, basically,
the
yeah.
plants having a conversation together.
Mm.
Like with, but these have known these things for
And
a long time.
yew trees,
I mean,
yew trees.
people know these for a long time, but now it's
Mm.
like how mainstream is, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna make it commercial now, and but people, our ancestors, have known all these things for years, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, so interesting discussion today. Anyone got anything to say before we go?
Yeah, man, don't trust your ego. That's all I ever say to myself. I've got him chained in a basement downstairs, man, chained up.
Yeah,
Because he
well, that's it.
sabotaged me too many times, man, and I've had enough now.
Well, you know
Don't
what?
trust the
Yeah,
narrative.
yeah,
Don't trust your brain's narrative because
yeah,
your brain will
exactly.
see something and it will basically tell you this is what it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
follow it, and then you find out something else which totally dismisses your point. So nowadays, if I hear a narrative saying something, I say, well, I can't follow you because you haven't got all the information.
yeah, yeah.
Let's find out more before we do what we do. It's a bit like what Patrick was saying that when you're talking to the kids, you have to basically hear as much as you can before you make a précis of what to do next. Some people hear two words and say, oh, yep, you got this, bang. And the person didn't finish what they had to say. So
Mm.
Observation.
patience
Yeah.
for yourself, patience for others is going to help you understand yourself and others a whole lot more, which is going to create less consternation for your brain and just put you in a state of less stress so that your health is much better and
Mm.
your well and your being as well.
Yeah, interesting. I think we've covered a lot today. Patrick, you want to finish off with anything, or?
Just to say, we've been talking about well-being, and I feel well for being here today. So that's all I want
Nice.
to finish with.
Wicked,
Great.
man.
Well,
Not
and
even
also,
wicked. Good, man.
everything's not by accident, everything for the reason. We've been having a good few group discussions, week in, week out.
Yeah.
And people's time, you could even be doing something
What happened
else.
to the sisters again, bro?
Oh, you asked that last time. This is lady. Yeah. I invite people, but people turn up. They turn up.
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
I can do.
Yeah, man.
I let them know a
Good
week
enough.
before. Nothing you can do. Even like some other people said they might have come on, but they might be doing something with their lives. I really don't know. But whatever's meant to be is meant to be. That's all I'll say. Whoever's meant to be on here is meant to be. You've given up your time. Could have been doing other things. And we're having a very healthy discussion. And we're touching on great topics week after week. So these things will continue. I won't be doing it next week. I've got someone for Imhotep on next week, and then I'm going to Ghana. So we're going to keep the momentum going. So this is sort of like an Easter break for us coming up. But anyway, I want to give thanks to you all, James Diboe, Discovering, dedicated to original peoples. Thanks, Edison. Thanks, Raz. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, many thanks, bros.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Peace out, man.
Bless up, everybody.
Bless up.